This is not a regular message. I need you to stop whatever you are doing and actually listen to this, because what I am about to share with you was not meant for everyone. It was meant for you, and I think somewhere inside you already know that. Before I go any further, I want to tell you what you will walk away with by the end of this message. You will understand exactly what is shifting in your life right now and why it is happening. You will receive a specific warning that could protect everything you have been building. And I will share something from a Princeton study that finally explains why your mind works the way it does and what you can do about it. Stay with me to the end. Every part of what I am about to say matters. Now, let me ask you something. Have you been feeling it? Not something you can fully explain, not something you can point to on a map, but something underneath everything, something quiet and persistent, like a current running just below the surface of your ordinary day, a restlessness that is not quite anxiety, a knowing that is not quite a thought, a sense that something is about to change, or maybe already has, and you just have not seen it yet with your eyes. If that is where you are right now, I need you to hear this. I hear the Spirit saying, this is not random. The fact that you are here, in this moment, listening to these words, is not a coincidence. This is an appointment. And what God wants to say to you today, He has been preparing you to receive for a long time. By the time this message is done, you will understand why everything in your life right now makes perfect, undeniable sense. Let me show you what has already begun. I know what you have been carrying, not the big dramatic things, though those matter too. I mean the quieter weight, the feeling of being in motion without moving, the strange tension of knowing you are meant for something, and yet the something has not arrived yet, and you are starting to wonder if maybe you read the signs wrong, or if maybe the promise was for someone else, or if maybe you have been waiting so long that waiting has simply become your way of life. That is real. What you are feeling is real. And I want to be very clear about something before we go any further. You are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are not waiting because something went wrong. You are waiting because something is being assembled, and what is being assembled requires precision, and precision takes time. And the God who holds the entire universe in alignment does not rush the things that are meant to last. What feels like a delay is not a delay at all. It is a delivery schedule that you do not have access to yet. What feels like silence from heaven is not absence. Silence from the God who spoke the world into existence is never absence. It is strategy. It is the quiet before the announcement. It is the stillness that always comes just before something begins to move. You went in feeling invisible, and you are coming out seen. You went in feeling stalled, and you are coming out positioned. What felt like God looking away was actually God leaning in, building something in you that the next season will require. And the chosen one, the one who makes it through this particular season, the one who does not give up in the waiting, they are always the ones who discover on the other side that the waiting was the most important part of the whole journey. But here is what I need you to understand. This season is ending, and what comes next is exactly why this message was sent to you. When God is about to move, He does not announce it with thunder. He does not send a news alert. He does not show up with a dramatic sign in the sky, at least not usually. What He does is quieter than that, and far more specific. He announces it with signals. And those signals are already appearing in your life right now. The first one is a restlessness that you cannot quite turn off, no matter how busy you keep yourself, no matter how much you try to settle into the rhythm of your regular day. It is there in the morning before you fully wake up. It is there late at night when everything else goes quiet. It is not anxiety, because anxiety has a target. Anxiety is afraid of something specific. This is different. This is more like anticipation, with nowhere to point. It is your spirit already responding to something that your mind has not caught up to yet. That is not a problem. That is a sign. The second one is the feeling of things falling away. Relationships that used to feel essential have started to feel distant. Habits that used to fill your time feel hollow now. Spaces, conversations, even versions of yourself that used to feel comfortable, they no longer fit the way they used to. And this can feel like loss. It genuinely can, and I am not going to pretend that it does not. But what I want you to understand is that what is falling away because it was never meant to come with you into what is next. That is not loss, that is pruning. And pruning only happens when growth is coming. The third signal is the one that most people miss because it does not look like a miracle. It looks like moments, small moments of sudden clarity. A thought that arrives without being invited and turns out to be exactly right. A decision you make almost by instinct that you cannot fully explain, but that proves to be the correct one. Dreams that feel more like messages than like noise. A knowing that arrives before the knowing should be possible. Your mind is operating differently in this season. Something is open in you that was not open before. And the reason all three of these are happening at the same time, that is exactly what I need to explain next. Not everyone is experiencing what you are experiencing right now. Not everyone feels the shift the way you feel it. Not everyone wakes up with that specific weight of calling pressed into their chest. Not everyone moves through their days with that undercurrent of something is coming running just beneath the surface. And the reason for that is not luck, it is not personality, it is not circumstance, it is design. You were wired differently. From the beginning, something was placed in you that was not placed in everyone. An ability to sense what others cannot sense. A capacity to feel the weight of things that most people move right past. A pull toward purpose that does not let you get too comfortable for too long, because comfort was never actually your destination. The world sometimes looked at that and called it sensitivity, or called it too much, or called it a problem that needed to be managed. But what the world called a problem, God called preparation. What the world tried to quiet, God was using. And here is where it becomes important. Because there is something that neuroscientists at Princeton and MIT have been studying for decades, something that specifically explains why people like you, people built the way you are built, experience what you experience. They have a name for it. It is a specific frequency, a God-given frequency that exists inside the brain and is responsible for the deep knowing, the heightened intuition, the ability to sense things before they become visible. And the research shows that most adults have lost access to it. But the ones who still feel it, even faintly, even through the noise of the ordinary world, they are the ones who were built for something that the ordinary world was never going to fully be able to contain. I will come back to this in the second part of this message. Because what the science reveals changes everything about how you understand your own mind. But before I get to that, I need to warn you about something. Every chosen one who has ever stood at the threshold of something new, and you are standing at one right now, has had to pass through a final test before the door fully opened. Not a punishment, not a sign that they were not ready, a confirmation, a final pressure applied to prove that what God built in them was solid enough to carry what was coming. And the test almost always takes one of three forms. The first is comparison. You look at someone else, someone who seems to be thriving, someone whose breakthrough seems to have arrived on schedule, and your mind starts asking the question you are not supposed to ask. Why them and not me yet? And the moment you step into that question, you have taken your eyes off your own path. The enemy does not need you to walk away from your calling. He just needs you to spend enough time staring sideways that you stumble on the very road you were meant to walk straight. The second is premature movement. The breakthrough is so close that you can almost feel it, and the temptation is to push, to force, to manufacture the thing that has not yet been released. And chosen ones who move before they are released often have to go back to the beginning, not because God punishes them, but because the timing of a thing is part of the thing. A door opened a moment too early lets in the wrong season. The third is the one that is hardest to talk about, because it does not come from outside you, it comes from inside. It is the voice that says, even now, even after everything you have walked through, what if I am not actually who I think I am? What if this is all wishful thinking? What if I get to the threshold and discover that I was never actually chosen at all? That voice is not wisdom. That voice is not discernment. That voice is the last defense of everything that was never meant to survive into your next season. You have come too far to turn back now. You have survived too much for this to be the moment you walk away. And this is not the moment to retreat. Now, let me tell you what is on the other side of this threshold, and why your brain, your literal physical brain, is already being prepared for it. If you have stayed with me this far, then you already know. You can feel it in your chest right now, that thing that does not have a name yet, but that is very, very real. Something is moving. Something is shifting. In you, around you, in the invisible architecture of your life. In the second part of this message, I am going to show you exactly what God is releasing into your life in this season. I am going to show you what He is specifically asking of you, and why this moment, not last year, not next year, but right now, is the moment He chose. And I am going to share something that changed the way I understand everything about people like us. A discovery from a Princeton neuroscientist that explains what happens inside the minds of chosen ones during a season exactly like this one. Something specific, something measurable. Something that has been dormant inside you, and something that can be reactivated in just 7 minutes a day. That is what is coming. And I think, on some level, you already know you need to hear it. If you are here, you made a choice. Most people would have stopped by now. Most people would have found a reason to step away, to come back later, to tell themselves they would finish it when they had more time. But you stayed. And I want you to know that is not a small thing. Let me bring you back to where we were. You are in the middle of a shift. The signals are already there. The restlessness, the falling away. The moments of clarity arriving without invitation. We talked about the final test that comes before the threshold. We talked about the way the enemy uses comparison and premature movement and self-doubt to pull a chosen one back at the last possible moment. And then I told you there was something else. Something from a Princeton neuroscientist. Something about what is happening inside your mind in a season like this. That is where we are going now. But first, I want to show you what God is actually doing. Not what it looks like from the outside, what it actually is. The word big carries a lot of weight in our culture. We hear it and we think of something dramatic, something visible, something that shows up with enough force that nobody could miss it. And so when I say something big is happening right now, I want to be precise about what I mean. Because the biggest thing God has ever done in the life of a chosen one, it rarely arrives the way we imagined it would. It does not always look like a sudden windfall. It does not always look like a door flying open in front of you. Sometimes, the biggest thing God is doing is something you cannot photograph. Something no one else would see if they walked into your life right now and looked around, because the biggest thing He is doing is happening inside you. Right now, He is removing what was never meant to stay. Not just circumstances, not just people. He is removing old frameworks, old stories, old ways of seeing yourself and the world that were once useful but have now become walls. And that process does not feel like freedom at first. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like, why is everything that used to make sense suddenly not making sense anymore? But that is renovation. That is what it sounds like when walls come down. And at the same time, He is rewiring the way you process reality. There are chosen ones who, in the middle of a season like this one, begin to perceive things they could not perceive before. They begin to see patterns in events that used to seem random. They begin to hear something underneath the noise of ordinary life. A knowing that was not there before, or maybe was always there, but was buried under so many layers of the ordinary that they had simply stopped noticing it. And then, simultaneously, he is aligning you. Quietly, without announcement, he is repositioning people and opportunities around you in preparation for what comes next. Relationships that will matter, open doors that are not open yet, but that are being prepared. Moments that will seem like coincidence but will not be coincidence at all. And here is the thing that ties all of it together. There is a frequency inside your brain, a specific measurable frequency, that the neuroscientists at Princeton and MIT have been studying for decades. They call it the gamma wave, and in the research, they call it remarkable, because the gamma wave is not like the other frequencies. It does not just govern focus or calm or rest. It is the frequency associated with the deepest knowing, with the kind of clarity that arrives before the logic does, with what some people describe as flow and others describe as intuition, and others simply describe as the moments when they felt most fully alive and most fully themselves. Scientists have observed something that should be impossible. They have observed the gamma wave in moments of profound creativity, in moments of sudden breakthrough, in the brains of people making decisions that turned out to be exactly right, in the brains of people experiencing what can only be described as moments of grace. And here is what the research also shows. In most adults, after a lifetime of stress and distraction and a world designed to keep the mind in a lower gear, the gamma wave has gone quiet. Not gone, quiet, dormant, like a frequency that is still there but is no longer being broadcast. But in the chosen one, even through everything, even through every wilderness and every silence and every season of waiting, there is still something, a faint signal, a trace of what was always there. And that trace, the neuroscientists say, can be reactivated. I will tell you how in a moment. Before I do, I want to speak about what God is asking of you now. Because this is not a passive season, even if it feels quiet. There are specific things He is calling you to do. The first is to guard what you are becoming. This season is not the time to open every door that knocks. Not every relationship belongs in your next chapter. Not every voice that speaks into your life right now is speaking from the right place. There are people who were sent for the season you are leaving, not the season you are entering. And the kindest thing you can do for them and for yourself is to release what is releasing naturally, without guilt, without explanation, without the need to justify why the connection no longer fits the person you are becoming. Guard your peace like it is precious, because it is. The second thing He is asking of you is to move when you are released and not before. There is a difference between divine acceleration and premature movement, and the difference is not always obvious from the inside. Divine acceleration feels like a pull. Premature movement feels like a push. One is being called forward. The other is running ahead because the waiting became unbearable. Ocean 1. This is the season to learn the difference, to sit in the readiness, to stay in the position of prepared without forcing the moment. The release is coming. You do not have to manufacture it. And the third thing He is asking of you, this one matters in a way that is hard to overstate. Because without this one, the first two are almost impossible to sustain. He is asking you to prepare your mind, not in a vague, general way, in a specific way. Because here is the truth that most people in a season like this one miss. The calling is real, the anointing is real, the alignment is real. But your mind has to be operating at the level it was designed for to actually be able to carry what is coming. A mind that is stuck in the low frequencies, stuck in survival mode, stuck in the noise and the overwhelm and the mental fog of everything this world throws at you, that mind will not be able to hold what God is trying to hand you. And this is exactly where what I am about to share with you becomes important. I want to take a moment to tell you something I believe from the deepest part of what I know. You did not stumble into this message. Think about how many things had to align for you to be here, in this exact moment, listening to these exact words. The path that brought you here was not accidental. And I say that not as encouragement, though I hope it is encouraging. I say it because it is true, and because the truth of it matters for what comes next. You have walked through something to get to this moment. Maybe it was a long walk. Maybe it was harder than you let anyone know. Maybe there were days in that walk when you held on by the thinnest thread, and the only reason you held on was because something in you refused to let go. Even when every reasonable argument said let go, that refusal was not stubbornness, that was the calling, holding itself inside you until the season arrived. And I hear the Father saying this. I hear him saying, you were not forgotten. Every moment you felt invisible, I saw you. Every night you cried without knowing why, I was there. Every door that closed, I closed, because what was behind it was not the thing I built you for. You were not forgotten. You were being formed. And what I am releasing into your life now, you could not have carried it then. The you that existed at the start of this wilderness did not have the shoulders for what I am about to place on them. But the you that has walked through it, and is still standing, and is still here, you can carry it now. Go. You are closer than you know. And right here, right now, is the tool he has placed in this moment. Not by accident, not as an afterthought, but because your mind needs to be ready for everything that is coming. I want to bring you back to what I mentioned earlier, the Princeton study, the gamma wave, the God-given frequency that your brain was born carrying, and that the pressures of this world have slowly, over years, pushed into dormancy. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying this specific frequency. His work took him through the EEG labs at MIT, through the neuroscience departments at Harvard and Princeton and Stanford and Berkeley. And what he found confirmed something that the data had been pointing toward for a long time. The gamma wave does not just show up during moments of genius or creativity. It shows up during moments of what he called deep alignment, moments when a person is most fully themselves, moments when intuition and clarity and the ability to make exactly the right decision all arrive at once. And the people in whom this frequency was strongest were not the people with the highest IQ scores or the most impressive credentials. They were the people who had, somehow, stayed most connected to something underneath the noise. Chosen ones. I want to tell you about a woman who came to Dr. Lake's research almost by accident. She had spent years chasing a sense of clarity she could barely remember from childhood. She had tried everything. She had meditated for hours. She had changed her diet, her environment, her social circle. Nothing fully brought back what she was looking for. She described it as reaching for something in a dark room that she knew was there. She could feel the shape of it, but her hand kept closing on empty air. When she began using the protocol Dr. Lake developed, she described what happened, not in scientific terms, but in one sentence. She said, "It was like the static finally stopped, and in the quiet that followed, the decisions that had paralyzed her for years became simple, not easy, but clear. And the clarity, once it arrived, did not leave." Now, I want to be honest with you about something that might be in your mind right now. You might be thinking, I have heard things like this before. I have tried things before, and nothing changed. I understand that. If you have walked through a season like the one we have been talking about today, and you have looked for answers along the way, the disappointments add up. I know that. But I want to draw a very specific line here. The reason most of what you tried did not work was not because you did the wrong things. It was because they were aimed at the wrong level. Meditation, for example, done consistently over months and years, can eventually shift your gamma frequency. But most people cannot sustain the kind of practice that would be required. Brain entrainment works on a different mechanism entirely. It does not require months. It does not require discipline. It works directly. It works because the audio frequency and your brain frequency interact in a way that is measurable, repeatable, and confirmed in laboratory conditions. This is not the same category of thing. This is a different mechanism. Dr. Lake compressed 34 years of research into an audio track that is 7 minutes long. You put on headphones, you close your eyes, you listen. That is the entire protocol. No visualization required, no mantra, no particular posture. Just 7 minutes, and your brain begins to find its way back to the frequency it was always meant to carry. The track is called the Genius Song, and more than 18,000 people have now used it and confirmed what the research already showed. To access it at the standard price, it is $49. But Dr. Lake made a specific decision to offer a reduced price, $39, through the channel you are watching right now. Not on Amazon, not anywhere else. This is the only place this price exists. $39 for the protocol itself, plus 4 bonuses. A second audio track for focus and confidence. The original book that inspired The Secret, the more substantive version, normally $20 on its own, included at no extra cost. A guided visualization for 4 areas of your life: finances, relationships, health, and peace. And a printed infographic of the 5 most important daily practices for building the life you are moving toward. 100% money-back guarantee. No conditions. No time limit on how many times you can listen before deciding. If it does not change something, you lose nothing. There is one thing I have to tell you before you look for it anywhere else. Because there are versions of something called the Genius Song appearing in various places online right now. I am telling you clearly that those are not the same product. They do not contain the brain entrainment technology that Dr. Lake developed. They are audio files with no embedded frequency structure, which means they will not do anything. The only version with the full technology, all 4 bonuses, and the money-back guarantee is through the link I have placed in the description of this video and in the pinned comment directly below it. Do not search for it on Amazon or Spotify or anywhere else. The link I have placed is the only verified source. If this is the tool for this season of your life, and I believe for many of you it is, that link is where you will find it. I want to say one more thing about where you are right now, not as pressure, as truth. Every day that your gamma frequency stays dormant is not a neutral day. It is a day that your mind is operating below the level it was designed for, below the level that what is coming will require. You have waited a long time to step into what God has been building. This is not the moment to wait on the one thing that was placed in front of you to help you get there. The chosen one you are becoming has already made this decision, not because they were certain, but because they recognized the moment and they moved. Now I want to speak something over you before you go, not in the language of information, in the language of what I actually believe. You are not a person who happened to survive a hard season. You are a person who was built to carry something that required a hard season. There is a difference. Survival suggests luck. What you did was not luck. You were held. And what held you was not finished with you when the hard thing ended. It was just beginning the next part of what it always intended. You are not almost ready. You are not close to ready. You are ready now. The formation is not complete in some abstract future moment. It is complete in this one. You are chosen. You are commissioned. You are sent. And I hear the Father saying this one last time. He says, I did not bring you through the wilderness to let you die at the edge of the promised thing. Every closed door was a closed door for a reason. Every delay was a delay with a destination. Every silence I gave you was a silence I filled with preparation that you could not see, but that was real. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are arriving. Right now, in this moment. That is not wishful thinking. That is what I have been building the whole time. Go, chosen one. What is prepared for you has been prepared for a very long time, and it is ready now.